All statements and opinions expressed by guests of the Adult in the Room podcast are strictly their own and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or opinions of the host, producers, or advertisers. All interviews are presented in their most complete possible form in the interests of free speech. No statements should be interpreted as financial, legal, or medical advice. Listener and viewer discretion are strongly advised.
It's the Adult in the Room podcast with Victoria Taft. That's me. Well, howdy ho, Victoria Taft with you. You're Adult in the Room. Things are going. I guess our X is up, and that's awesome. We're going to talk about what happened in Iran. We are going to happen to talk with an expert on a historical expert on all things Islam. And we're going to check, we're going to do a SITREP of what's going on in Iran today as well. I'll give you a preview of the Jeffrey Epstein Thursday coming up this Thursday on the Adult in the Room podcast. So I hope your weekend was great. We did not do an emergency podcast, but that's the way it happens. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Now, that introduction is, because some of you have asked me about it, the music is something Alex found, which is lovely. The other thing is that the background sound is from Foxy John's in Dingle, Ireland. And I loved that place. It absolutely was one of my favorite places in Ireland on one of my favorite trips of my life 2 years ago. And it taught me a lot about pub life. Of course, pub life doesn't only occur at night with a pint of Guinness. It actually takes place in the mornings with a cup of coffee. And if you want something else in it, supercharged, fine. Well, so the United States and Israel attacked the country of Iran. And they did this over the weekend, early Saturday morning in daylight hours. Or is it early Friday morning? It was a day where they were holding a meeting. And that was a bad idea. It was a breakfast meeting. It was a really bad idea on Saturday because then they went boom, boom. And Robert Spencer is here to talk a little bit about it. He's a colleague. He's also the keeper of Jihad Watch and is a wonderful historian about all things Islam. He has written, as his latest book, Intifada on the Hudson, The Selling of Zohran Mamdani. I have a question. Is that really your latest book, or do you have another one out that I'm unaware of? Yeah, oh, here he's reaching for it.
Holy hell.
Tell me, what is this one about?
This is about the rape gangs in Britain and how it's actually a phenomenon not just in Britain, but all over the world. And it is all over the world because it is completely Islamic. The idea of taking infidel women and raping them is part of humiliating the unbelievers, which is a sacred duty and part of asserting your power and dominance over them. Holy Hell is available now. Holy Hell, rush to get it at Amazon or wherever fine books are sold.
You're doing a great job. That's amazing. Well. One of the things that reminded me of having you on and was great, thank you so much for coming on, by the way. This is your second tour on the Adult in the Room podcast, and it was this story, and I'm going to make sure I grab it. It is left us all over our morning Khamenei, but the far left, I guess I'm saying it right, but this far left Christian went way beyond that. People are falling all over themselves to fet a man who was nothing but a thug. Agree or disagree?
Oh, yeah. He was a mass murderer of immense proportions. He killed 40,000 of his own people over the last few weeks because they were protesting against his regime. And that's after 36 years in power and untold numbers of people being murdered by this same regime. This is the same regime also several years ago. They arrested a girl for not wearing her hijab properly and killed her in custody, leading to nationwide protests that also were violently put down. And so this is one of the worst people in history. and leftists are enraged because it was Trump that took him out.
They are enraged. They're mad. They wanted a Democrat to do it, but no Democrat has ever done that. Can you give me the history of why that is?
Well, the Democrats loved him, and they gave him money. If we hadn't had the Democrats, we wouldn't have had Khamenei. It was first Jimmy Carter who gave the Islamic Revolution to the world when he stabbed our ally, the Shah of Iran, in the back and ushered in the victory of the Islamic Republic. So you have that. Then you have the support of Barack Obama and then Joe Biden's people of the Islamic Republic. When the Islamic Republic was in tremendously dangerous financial territory and could have been toppled during demonstrations in the Obama years, it was Obama who saved it by throwing it the lifeline of the nuclear deal, which enabled the Iranian regime to get access to $56 billion, including those notorious pallets of cash, 1.7 billion at least in unmarked bills delivered in the dark of night to Tehran in some sort of undercover bribe that happened to be discovered because somebody saw all the cash piled up. And then Biden took $20 billion of frozen assets, money that the Shah had given to the U.S. to buy weaponry that was never delivered because his regime fell. And the U.S. government kept the money, didn't think it should return it to the Islamic regime because it wasn't the money, it wasn't their money. And Joe Biden gave it back. $20 billion over the last couple of years since the October 7th attacks. So it's been the United States, by doing that, that funded the attacks against Israel and the war against Israel over the last couple of years. And it's the United States that enabled the Islamic regime to remain in power when, without the assistance that Obama and Biden gave it, it would have certainly have fallen by this time.
One of the little factoids I found out I think the last few days has been that the IEPA, which was the subject of the tariff battle with President Trump in the U.S. Supreme Court, was used to take the money away from Iran the first time around. Now, don't you think that's interesting?
Yeah.
Is that ironic or what?
Well, that's exactly the thing that the Democrats do. They take the systems of the U.S. government and weaponize them against the best interests of Americans. And they do this in so many different arenas. I'm just never surprised when I hear about it anymore.
Yeah, I know it is ironic, and it's there's so much hypocrisy going on. If we're not for hypocrisy, we wouldn't have anything to talk about with respect to the Democrats. But there you are. Now let's go to your story a little bit here, and let me just pull it up on my Dealy Bob here. And sure, Victoria, remove other media. Oh, I have to remove your book. I'm sorry, I have to remove your book before I had. I know it's terrible. All right. Okay, leftists are all over our morning coming, but this far left Christian went way beyond that. People are now eulogizing this despot all over the place, and it seems to me that the left has once again gone on the wrong side. Now, instead of supporting illegal aliens, MS-13 members, gangsters, bad actors of every sort, now they are going to stand solidly behind this dead man who was a despot for all these years. It just doesn't. What did this Christian leader do?
Well, this is because I have Victoria, I have this guilty pleasure now. I wrote a thing for PJ Media a few weeks ago because I went on to Threads, the fake one of the leftist Twitter, and it was so crazy. I couldn't believe these people were serious. And now I've kind of gotten in the habit of going there regularly because it's kind of like the people who slow down traffic to look at the car wreck.
Yeah.
I'm just sort of addicted now to this crazy leftism. And so I went on to Threads days ago after Khamenei was killed, and I see all these leftists saying, "Oh, we're so sorry." Like you could see up a little higher in the article, this opera singer. I'd never heard of her, Mana K. Jones, and she, dear people of Iran, I'm so sorry. I'm so terribly sorry. And all the Iranians came in saying, "What are you, crazy? We're celebrating." And so there were a lot of things like that on Threads.
Yeah.
But then I saw John Pavlovitz, and John Pavlovitz is also somebody that I'd never heard of, but he's apparently a big deal in some circles. He has nearly 400,000 followers on real Twitter, and he is apparently some kind of leftist Christian. He wrote a book, you can see there, "If God is Love, Don't Be a Jerk." And
well, apparently logic escapes him. So, okay.
he writes that, but he's a jerk, and so he needs to read his own book. But he wrote after Khamenei was killed, "Dear world, please do whatever you need to. Sincerely, decent Americans." Now, the implications of that, I think, are unmistakable. He wants there to be a tax on the U.S. in response to the killing of Khamenei, supposedly to rein in the rogue Trump regime or something.
So, as Kurt Schlichter pointed out, in fact, I'm going to bring it up because I think you need to see this. It's pretty hilarious. Let me go find his tweet because only he can write this and get away with it. Okay, Schlichter. I got it here. Where is it? What did I do with that? Okay, now I can't find it. All right. But basically, okay. He sends a picture of the crowd who the Handmaid's Tales, where all those women dress up. And he goes, only the left would support a man who actually forces women to dress like they're in the Handmaid's Tale in an effort to get rid of them. Also, I did find this one. I guess I put this one up here. I'm going to ask you about this. It is an Ilhan Omar tweet from the 27th. Iraq, she says, was attacked by the U.S. during Ramadan. She was fact-checked on that, and it wasn't. And then here's the rest of that. It is sickening to know that the U.S. is again going to attack Iran during Ramadan. And I think to myself, Benny Johnson made a big deal about it. It took him an hour to get to the actual point, but then that's the way it is. But the thing is that I thought, oh, finally, there's actually something there that somebody says about this. Ilhan Omar may have just committed treason. What do you think? Am I overreacting?
Well, it's funny you say that because I wrote a story a couple years ago about Kamala Harris, and she had said something. I don't even remember what she said. You know, it was just another article at PJ Media, not to put down the articles at PJ Media, but you know, we write a lot of them. And so another one comes along. And anyway, I wrote that sometime we should start thinking about whether these things were treason. And there was another PJ writer who I will not mention by name who put a immediate claim into our editorial, our editorial bulletin board there on Slack,
On Slack,
and put up that there's a meme of a children's book cover. Everybody I don't like is Hitler, and he put out Hitler and put a traitor, and he said, knows what a traitor is, and I'm going to explain what treason really is. And I knew I had just written the article talking about treason and Kamala, so I knew what he was talking about. But he was very upset because apparently treason has a very precise definition in American law, and so we shouldn't throw it around lightly.
Right.
The real point of the story is, I think that's a bit pedantic. Maybe we need to be a little bit freer about what we think of it as, because it seems to me the nation is crawling with people right now, like Ilhan Omar, who are frankly seditious, and nobody wants to deal with it or talk about it. And so maybe this is not the time for carefully precise legal definitions of treason. Let's at least bring up the charges, and then we can hash that out in court. But in any case, what's also interesting about this is Ramadan.
Mm-hmm.
She's trying to give the impression that all the poor Muslims are off praying and fasting, and the mean old Americans are hitting them with bombs, when actually Ramadan is the time when in Islam you're supposed to try to please Allah even more fervently than you do the rest of the year. So during Ramadan, what should you do? The things that Allah wants most. One time, there's a famous story in the Hadith, the traditions about Muhammad, where Muhammad is asked, what is a deed that's greater than jihad? And he says, I can't think of one. I do not find such a deed.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing greater than jihad. What should you do during Ramadan? Jihad. So Ramadan is always a time when there's more Islamic attacks, more jihad, more killings, more bombings, more stabbings, all of that. And she's trying to gaslight the American people into thinking, oh, these poor Muslims, they're just praying and fasting. No,
Mm-hmm.
this is actually the most dangerous time of year. And so it's a perfectly appropriate time to try to take out a rogue state that is more dangerous this time of year.
I got a question for you. So we've got over at PJ Media this fantastic cup. I have to get one for my aunt.
Mm-hmm.
I'm voting for the guy they keep trying to kill. And the name of this podcast this week or this day is his quote. I got him before he got me, and he tried twice. And so I just thought, how badly was the attempt on his life by the Iranians? Wasn't it that one guy at the golf course was one of them, right? Are we thinking that was one of them?
At the golf course, and not it was either, I don't remember actually if it was before or after that. I think it was before it. But Khamenei actually posted a photo, a fake photo of Trump on the golf course in the sights of a gun.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Put that on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
A direct threat. And the Iranian regime, various officials of the Iranian regime reiterated more than once that they wanted to kill Trump, as well as Pompeo and Bolton, first administration guys. And nobody, if it had been any other leader in the world, the UN would have been raining down condemnations and there would have been all kinds of trouble. But it was Khamenei, and so the Islamic Republic of Iran gets no condemnation from the UN at all, no problem, because the Organization of Islamic Cooperation is in the driver's seat at the UN.
Mm. So you've got this regime, and they've done multiple attacks on the United States over the years. What I've noticed is it's kind of interesting. The kids these days, and by kids I mean people younger than me. I mean way younger than me. And here, let me just add this to the deal here. Make sure I got it highlighted. And it is this. She said, hopefully. I think this is the one. Oh, it looks like somebody's selling some nice pillows. Yes. Is this my story? Yeah. Let's take a trip down memory lane with Iran's mullahs. Sometimes you just have to use the obvious little, old-timey verbiage to convey an idea. Mm-hmm. And it's this. Of course, in 1979, Iranian students backed by the new revolutionary government in Tehran seize the U.S. embassy. They take 66 American hostages, 444 days, attempt to change the outcome of the U.S. election. Suicide car bombing at the embassy in Beirut kills 63 people. Hezbollah drives a truck at the Marine barracks. I don't know if everybody fully appreciates this, and I know you do, Robert Spencer, about how this remained in the psyche of Americans for years, until this day. People joined the military. I know one person in particular joined the military after that bombing that killed 241 U.S. service members, including 220 Marines.
And we have to Hezbollah, a lot of people might not realize, Hezbollah was started by the Islamic Republic of Iran. It is a proxy organization in Lebanon of the Islamic Republic of Iran. And not only in Lebanon, but it was working with the Maduro regime in Venezuela and the drug cartels in northern Mexico. And so this was direct adventurism against the United States.
Wow.
And it went on for years.
In 1984, they hijacked a Kuwait Airlines, killed 2 American USAID people. TW-8 Flight 847 from Athens to Rome. They hijacked a couple of planes, killing Americans. Hezbollah kills the U.S. Marine Corps Colonel William Higgins after kidnapping him. Let's see, what do we have here? Gunmen kill an American-Israeli dual citizen in the West Bank. There are lots of Americans killed in Israel. I couldn't put them all in here. Khobar Towers, we have, and many, 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 many more. And of course, the attempts on President Trump's life. This is not a nice regime. These are bad people.
It was over the years, they have killed nearly 900 American service members. And we should also remember, do you remember this, Victoria? It was a few years back during the Obama administration. Yeah. Why can't you find a solution for lasting peace?
I get some really terrific little comments here.
Grin Bear, I do think that one of the great steps forward for finding lasting peace will be to get rid of the Islamic Republic of Iran. But anyway, do you remember a few years back, while Obama was president, the Iranians commandeered a U.S. Navy ship and they took all these pictures?
Oh, I have that picture.
The sailors with their hands behind their back, behind their heads, and kneeling on the ground. This was a calculated, deliberate humiliation, and nothing, of course, was done. But they've been on a war footing against the United States since 1979. Trump and Israel didn't kill anybody. This was a false report. The killing of the children in the school came from a misfired Iranian missile.
Yeah. The United States, I wanted to put that up there because I was going to ask you about that. And yeah, that's fake news, everybody. Yeah, they may have hit a school. And by the way, they put a school right next to a military installation. So I don't think that's a very smart thing. But then again, they're the people who started it all. And that's what Gazans did and everybody else. Here's a gentleman.
And they do that in order to draw retaliatory fire they can use for propaganda purposes. So they want the Americans or Israelis to hit the school. That's why they put it there.
That's exactly right. Mr. Spencer, Iran isn't the only rabid Islamic regime with or pursuing nukes. You know what I'm talking about. Who is he talking about?
Pakistan. Well, I don't know what you talking about, but there could be Pakistan has nukes, and who else? There is Turkey. There is Egypt. They would love to have them. There are numerous rogue states in the Islamic world. But Iran is the one where they're chanting death to America. And Khamenei said this is not just a slogan, it's a policy. It's the goal of our regime. So this was an immediate threat that had to be taken out. Doesn't mean it's the only threat, but it was an immediate threat.
He answers his own question now. A few comments down. He says, Zion wants one.
Oh, that's a rogue Islamic regime. Isn't that what he said?
Yeah, he did, actually. Yeah, that's crazy. Kind of crazy.
I thought he said Islamic regimes.
He did. That was a different one. But no, it's not the same guy. But yeah, okay.
Zion is not. This is all this paranoia and lies, and all this rising hatred of the Jews. Yet again, it is completely at variance with reality. If Israel were left alone and the neighboring Arab Muslim states stopped trying to destroy it, then Israel would not be a threat to anybody. And everything that they have done is defensive. The Iranians, they don't have any quarrel with Israel. And the Islamic Republic of Iran has a quarrel with Israel because of Islam. Because Islam teaches that the Jews are the worst enemies of the Muslims and that they must drive them out from where they drove you out, the Quran says, meaning any land that belongs to the Muslims has to be regained by the Muslims if it's lost. And so
you do that. How's the math work when the The Jews were first, the Christians came later, and then Muslims were way later. It's like 700 years. Isn't that true? Something like that?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but they don't have to be first. They just have to have been there. And
Oh.
once they were there and once they ruled, then it belongs to them forever. Islam is always growing and expanding. That's why so many of the flags of Muslim countries are green. Green is about springtime and growth. See, and Islam is always growing. It never contracts. It never goes into winter. And so the land of Israel belongs to the Muslims because they once ruled it hundreds of years ago. And so they have to get it back. It's a charge of the Quran. And if that did not exist, there would be peace. The Israelis wouldn't be threatening Iran or causing any trouble. They don't have the same, they don't have any, they don't border on each other. They don't have competing economic interests. There is no reason for Iran or Israel to be at odds except Islam. It's not because of some fictional Israeli aggression that you're upset about there, Joe Commenter.
He says, I meant the likes of Pakistan and Turkey, which you named. So you knew exactly. Pakistan already has dukes, don't they?
Yes. And that's an extremely dangerous situation because those people are nuts. I mean, the leadership of Pakistan. And they are just about as fully committed to Islam and jihad as the Iranians. They're just not as developed in terms of military power. And so we haven't seen them nuke anybody yet, but I wouldn't be in the least surprised.
Well, I think that's one of the things that President Trump was able to at least get them to the table and agree to not kill each other. So I think that was a smart move. Oh, here we go. This has, of course, been asked and answered, but I just wanted you to see this breathtaking comment, and it is, Iran did nothing at all, misspelled, to make America attack. What do you say to people like that?
I say read Victoria's last article. It's all the fact is, been at war with the United States for many years. I wrote a book actually 10 years ago, The Complete Infidel's Guide to Iran. It is still timely, if I do say so myself. And you can look in there. There's a chapter in that book about how Iran has been on a war footing with the United States. And I got all these quotes from Iranian leaders, many of whom are still in power, although some of them were just killed the last few days, saying, we would welcome war with America. We want war with America. We're going to go to war with America. Eventually, a hot war. But right now, we're just setting up the staging ground for that war.
So, yeah, who are you referring to when you say that? Who's helping us set up the staging ground for the war? That they're going to...
There were Iranian generals who said that.
Oh!
Preparing for war with the United States.
Okay, yes. And then we had, I'll just have you really, I know I've kept you longer than I told you I would. So if you need to go, just let me know. But I thought the Steve Witkoff comment from the Hannity show yesterday, Hannity shut up long enough to give Steve Witkoff a moment to say something about it.
What did he say?
Did you ever get tired of that guy? He's like, Sean, this is us in our house. Sean, shut up and let the guy answer the damn question. That's us every night. But still we're still watching.
Materials,
here we go.
Sean, can be brought to 90%. That's weapons grade, in roughly 1 week, maybe 10 days at the outside. The 20% can be brought to weapons grade inside of 3 to 4 weeks. And let me say this, because I forgot this small little detail. In that first meeting, both the Iranian negotiators said to us directly, with no shame, that they controlled 460 kilograms of 60%, and they're aware that that could make 11 nuclear bombs, and that was the beginning of their negotiating stance. So they were proud of it. They were proud that they had evaded all sorts of oversight protocols to get to a place where they could deliver 11 nuclear bombs.
Okay, so why are we just hearing about this now? It's just from the latest round of negotiations. And what I find interesting is we just did Operation Midnight Hammer in June, and naturally we didn't get everything. Kenneth Abramowitz said we probably only got 80% of it, if that. But now they're redoing everything. They are, the centrifuges are spinning and they're up to 60%, which means, according to somebody on Twitter who I trust, I can't remember her name. Power plants run on 3 to 5%. Research reactors, most specialized civilian use, top out at 20%. They are 60%.
The IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Agency, has made it extremely clear repeatedly there is no reason to be enriching uranium at 60% except to make bombs. So the Iranians have been doing it for years. And yeah, we dealt a severe blow to their nuclear program in 2025, but we did not get it all. And they're still out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one more thing before I let you go. Actually, there's two more things before I let you go. We should not ignore the historical spiritual element that Torah observant Jews recognize repeating itself.
Well, I do. I don't know exactly what you have in mind, but I do think this is a spiritual war. This is ultimately a war of good versus evil. And when you have a war of good versus evil, and you have one side that has killed 40,000 of its own people in the last few weeks and is repeatedly crying out death and wanting to destroy two other countries, well, I'm comfortable being on the other side.
Mm-hmm. For the Democrats who are opposing now, they've decided that, oh gosh, we have to oppose everything Trump does. So let's try to find something that sounds legitimate to call on to make us look less ridiculous. We go to this.
Led a regime
here
that
we have
brutalized its own people, launched attacks around the world for almost 40 years. So is the president right to take him out?
Adam Schiff.
No, you're right about the Ayatollah. He was a brutal dictator. This is a murderous regime. But at the same time, it posed no imminent threat of attack to the United States.
Adam Schiff, once again, putting himself in the position of just saying anything he thinks will get along and get him attention and that sort of thing. It's just absurd.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for him to give us the evidence that he said he had of Trump colluding with Russia. But anyway, it's the same thing here. They don't pose any imminent threat. They had a very developed ballistic missile program, quite aside from their nuclear program. And the ballistic missiles were capable of doing extraordinary, enormous damage, not just to Israel, but to American interests in that region. And they were working on equipping them so that they could reach the American continent. So that's not a threat. Okay. The long list you have of Iranian attacks on American interests, that's not a threat. Well, what exactly constitutes an imminent threat then?
Well, I don't know.
Shifts war. Look, they even sent assassination squads over to the United States a couple of years ago to murder an Iranian dissident in New York City, Masih Alinejad. And a few years before that, they sent an assassination squad to Washington, D.C. to take out a Saudi diplomat they didn't like. And so you're talking about them acting with relative impunity inside the United States. That attack in Austin, Texas, a couple of days ago, guy goes into a bar and starts shooting at random and kills 2 people and injures many others. And he's got a Property of Allah sweatshirt, and underneath his sweatshirt, he's wearing a T-shirt emblazoned with the flag of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Now, this is a Senegalese migrant, and we know that the Islamic Republic is recruiting jihadis and paying them to act inside the United States on their orders. And they are specifically not recruiting Iranians so that they will evade detection more effectively. And here you have this guy from Senegal. The FBI is investigating that for precisely that reason, to see if maybe he was actually an agent of the Islamic Republic.
Wasn't he wearing an Iranian flag?
Yeah. Underneath his sweatshirt.
Yeah. Here's one, and I think you'll have fun with this because I'm sure you've heard it all. Let's see. I only got into the stream for a few seconds. That guy's full of crap. We had a nuclear deal with Iran, and Trump torpedoed it like an idiot.
Yeah. You remember when Trump said that it was the worst deal, not just the worst deal possible to have made with Iran, but the worst deal any American president had ever agreed to about anything? He was right. It was ridiculous. And this is another thing you guys should get The Complete Infidel's Guide to Iran, a book I wrote in 2016, still relevant, still available. Get it now at Amazon.com or wherever fine books are sold. The Complete Infidel's Guide to Iran is the first chapter, is all about that nuclear deal and how bad it is. And I'll give you one example of how bad it was. The Iranians agreed that they would have their nuclear program inspected at regular intervals so as to make sure that they were not developing nuclear weapons. Except who got to carry out the inspections? The Iranian government. So, yes, it's true. The Iranian government would report back to the IAEA and say, yep, we checked. We're not making nuclear weapons. Oh, okay then.
Well, I've seen, they call Trump a transactional president. It seriously doesn't get more transactional than, putting shrink wrapped money on a pallet, multiple pallets in a C-17 or whatever it was, or Globemaster, and sending them over to the Ayatollah. I mean, that's about as transactional as you can get. Pretty bad.
$1 billion, please don't bomb us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and how'd that work out? Well, I think James Rosen tweeted out the other, day and a half ago. He goes, 74% of all of the improvements that Iran made to get to their point where they could make bombs occurred during that agreement.
The mullahs see the world in terms of strength and weakness. They saw that money arrive, and they saw John Kerry arrive and say, well, how can we make a deal? What can we give you? And they thought, weakness, let's take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does make a difference when you've got a guy who's done a few big business deals over time, and you realize, there are just certain things in a negotiation you don't do. And just giving up and giving everything over, putting your number on the table first, ain't one of them. John Kerry. What a loser. One more thing before I let you go, and we've got more stuff to do because, good grief, there's some pretty treacherous things going on. But these are women who are dancing.
Without hijab.
And they are, I don't know if you can hear the music, but
You have to be twirling your hair around. Your hair is the thing.
this is in January, around the time where they were killing all the people on the streets, and they're out there. The girls are shaking their hair. They are dancing to a song that's popular from the 1990s and by an LA band. And that's kind of the sound of freedom. Not a hijab in sight, or hijab in sight.
Yep. And this is the thing that the Iranian people are celebrating for. They don't like this regime. They want to get it gone. They want to have a regime like the Shah's, where they had a Western-style secular system, and the Islamic regime is wildly unpopular, except among Western leftists.
Yeah, what is that about? You'll hear from some of them, as a matter of fact. One of the other things is that, of course, now checkmate on China and Russia. That's part of they're taking these players off the board. I mean, you're in timeout Venezuela, you're in timeout Iran, all of these countries, and they're going to go after Cuba next. Now, you got to believe Vladimir Putin's watching this going, I wonder what, Yeah. Anyway, Robert, you've been so generous with your time today, more than anything. It's been terrific to have you back. Holy Hell is his latest book. And the one he did shortly before that is The Infidels, or Intifada on the Hudson, the selling of Zoran Mondani. And hold your Holy Hell book up again. Can't believe I missed that.
Oh, hell, here it is.
Awesome. Thank you. You are a jewel. Appreciate you much.
A lot of fun, Victoria. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Good stuff. I mean, honestly, good stuff. Let's see. I'm going to go through some of your comments. If the U.S. succeeds in Iran, it will dominate most of the global oil markets after Venezuela, Iran. That's right. That's exactly right. And you know who's not going to get it? China. And you know why? Because they are trying to Bigfoot America, and he doesn't want it to happen because he knows what will come of dominance by China. They are a malefactor. He does not want them in a superior position over the United States. Let's see. They are one of the most kind people you can have like a friend. I imagine the Iranians. But, did you see LA? LA, where they were doing YMCA? And, there are more people of Persian descent in, I think this is the top spot besides Iran, where there are as many Persian people. LA's, incredible a number of people. And, it's funny because if you're in LA, a lot of people who are Iranians or Persians. They prefer Persian. And I'm willing to give them that because they're not part of that regime. They escaped. There's a reason for it. And so, but when you see them massed together, you go, holy crap, there's a lot of people here from Iran. It's an amazing thing. What this does is forces us to decide, okay, we're all going, nobody ever wanted to have any kind of tete-a-tete with Iran. And by that, I mean violent tete-a-tete with Iran. And here we are. And it sounds like they're kind of folding like origami at that moment. And so another paper tiger, is that what we're seeing here? Like Venezuela, another paper tiger? Venezuela really wasn't, but because of where they had to get Maduro, that was an amazing operation to get Maduro. And this was even more amazing. Now, let's go over a couple of things that are fresh off the old news pile. First of all, Democrats say that this war is illegal because it violates the War Powers Act.
Madam Leader, you're saying that the president did not need authorization initially and still does not need any authorization from Congress on Libya?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Is that Steny Hoyer? It looks like Bernie Sanders, but why would he be doing a presser with Nancy Pelosi? So that was in 2015 when Barack Obama bombed Libya and they did regime change. How quickly we forget, everybody. And it happens like that. If it hasn't happened in the last 2 years when you've been paying attention, it didn't really happen, did it? You don't know. So you don't want to be held accountable for not knowing, but you should be. And if you don't know, then sit back and learn a few things. You are just liars, by the way, misspelled liars. You are just liars, both of you from Bumblebee. On what respect? Now, there's a point of view here, for sure. And the point of view for me, and I know Robert too, born of scholarly investigation on his part, and living through it on my part and reading his books and others' books about it. So I'm not sure what you mean by the fact that we're liars. You go through the list. Let me just bring my list back. Because if you don't know what's going on, please, this is, don't say anything. Okay? Say nothing. If you don't know, say nothing and listen. That's what you should do. I'm trying to find my story that Robert just alluded to. Come on, man. That's it. Let's go over here and find it. Here we go. I'm going to just let you see the list. It's not even complete. The important point about Iran's mullahs is that no one has to use hyperbolic language to convey the acts of pure evil leveled against the U.S. and others in the 47 years since Jimmy Carter let them sack Iran. Iran's Islamic Nazis, and of course, we know about Iran, and we know about the Islamists getting together with Adolf Hitler. They had a mind meld. Go, see if you can test me. Am I wrong? No. And so we start in 1979, then we go to 83. October 83, Hezbollah, those are Iranian proxies. They blow up the Marine barracks. That was a sea change. And you know what Ronald Reagan did totally unlike him. You would never imagine. They pulled out of Lebanon as a result. And Lebanon just fell into an abject storm of violence. And that's what happened when we got out. It was an embarrassment, big embarrassment. Here we have, this is the 34 years ago, 241 service members killed, and then they've got some, here's a picture of it though. There wasn't much left. December 83. Boy, Hezbollah was really going. That's 3 huge operations in 1 year. Bombed the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait City. They kidnap our CIA Beirut station chief, William Buckley. They tortured him before killing him, and he gave up a lot of information. It is believed that he was skinned. Oh, good. 84, Hezbollah terrorists hijack Kuwait Airways Flight 221. And it goes on to 89, Hezbollah kills the U.S. Marine Corps William Higgins. I think he was the diver. Then we have gunman, 1996 gunman on American-Israeli dual citizen, and we have him killed in Israel. 96, Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia. August 98, Hezbollah assistance. This is an Al-Qaeda bombs go in Kenya and Tanzania, killing 12 Americans and 224 persons. Souls died that day. Hamas suicide bomber, another Iranian proxy. I remember this one, attacked the Sbarro Pizzeria in Jerusalem. Then we have, you always went, whenever you went to the mall, you go, well, do I really want to go to a Sbarro? Because they're all over the world. 2003 to 2011, Iranian-backed militias in Iraq killed at least 603 U.S. troops using explosives and other weapons. U.S. January 2007, IRGC Quds Force operatives disguised as U.S. soldiers attack a U.S. facility in Karbala, Iraq, killing 5 U.S. soldiers. Of course, Iran was responsible for creating all of the IEDs that maimed and killed U.S. soldiers in Iraq. Iraq gave sustenance to the 9/11 hijackers. Victoria, how dare you say that? That's terrible. They're Shia in Iran, not Sunni in Iraq, where most of them are. Yeah. Well, guess what? Enemy of my enemy is my friend. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Then we've got March 2020 or January 2020, Iran launches ballistic missiles at the airbase in Iraq and caused traumatic brain injuries to over 100 troops. They've been, as Robert rightly pointed out, on a war footing against us since 1979. When they say death to another country, it's America first and Israel second. March 2020, Robert Levinson, who disappeared in Iran in 2007, died. In 2020, U.S. intelligence uncovers an Iranian plot to assassinate the U.S. ambassador to South Africa. Iran-backed militia rocket in Erbil wounds 1 service member. Iranian-backed militias launch rocket and drone attacks. This is before anything they did to Israel in 2023. November 22, IRGC captain orchestrates the killing of an American citizen in Baghdad. 2023 is probably some CIA guy. Drone strikes at the U.S. Air Base, killing 1 American contractor, wounding 5 service members. October 7, 2023, that's a southern India. A lot of 48 Americans were killed in October 7th. Despicable attack. December 2023, Iran-backed Iraqi militia drone attacks in Erbil. 2024, drone kills 3 U.S. soldiers. 2024, Iran executes U.S. permanent resident on terrorism charges. It goes on. And it goes all the way up to 2025. And they haven't stopped. They haven't stopped. So get your head out of the sand, people. Get it out. Oh, so who says BS? Davey? BS about what? Where have you been? And you got to make a choice, right? And we're at the point now where people, you hate to divide people, but it really is a division born of the left, I think. I mean, it strikes me as it is. Let's just go over a few of the things that have happened. Recently, we have the Ilhan Omar tweet. Now, you have to wonder why she is telegraphing when the assault by Israel and the United States is going to happen before Ramadan's over. Now, who's giving her that intel? Did she get a briefing and then promptly put it out on X? Is that why she did that? To put the United States and Israel in a much tougher position to execute this war, to prosecute this war? Do you suppose that that's why she did it? Well, she's not alone.
When I was figuring a lot more Adam later.
I can't stand Nancy Pelosi. Please, I don't want to hear anymore. Let's see. So, how about this? You've got, I'm not going to play the sound here because I'll probably get in trouble. Heck, I got in trouble and got completely trashed by, the largest platform in America. And wouldn't buy for video. Does that give you a clue? By showing a snippet of video that showed a non-lethal GUN in a frame, and I got completely throttled for that. So that's why this has no sound. But I want you to see this. Here's a guy. He is just a fantastic lefty, wonderful guy. The left loves him. They watch his Twitch deal. And I don't care about, who he is or what his name is or what have you. But the point is that people watch him, and he just told people how they could prosecute a war of terrorism war, acts of terror, by using things you could buy at the store. He just gave people directions on how to do that. Now, you got to make a choice, man. As an American guy, you have to make a choice. Are you going to do that and work against your country? Or are you going to side with the people who are sick of this shit? And we're sick of this shit. Excuse my language, but whatever. And so you have to make a choice. And it doesn't mean it's always right. It doesn't mean, your country's always going to do the right thing. Sometimes there will be mistakes made. I'm sure the mullahs thought that that must have been a mistake when they blew up that school right next to the military installation. Yeah, and then blamed the United States. That's what they do, people. That's how they do. Yeah. This is literally America First policy. Killing the people who want and already did kill some Americans is literally protecting America. People who can't see this are just ignorant and stupid. Well, that's true. You've got people wanting to release all the Epstein files. By the way, we do have an Epstein Thursday coming up. I will have breakdowns of all Bill and Hillary's depositions, as well as information about Bill Gates and how he may have been a victim of a honeypot scam that benefited Jeffrey Epstein. How interesting is that? The United States has no allies apart from Israel. Are you sure about that? What do you call NATO? So you've got the lefties, they're working, trying to get in the heads of people and say, oh, well, they're like this person who just did. Like, there are no friends. The United States has no friends. Trump's on his own. Really? Are you sure about that? No, you're not sure about that. You're just saying it because you just want it to be true. You want to make sure that something happens and it is used to take a stab at the president. That's why. That's exactly right. You have some serious thinking to do, right? So that guy was telling people how to commit acts of terror. Ilhan Omar gives out information that is vital to the preparation of Iran. Whose side is she on? Well, obviously not ours. And she hates Trump, but, Trump's the president of the United States, her country now. I just wish she'd just solve the problem and just take her $30 million that she and her husband have amassed over the last couple of years and just get the hell out of the country. Wouldn't that be just much, much nicer for the rest of us? Okay. So here's Joe Kent. I'm going to play for you Joe Kent. Why? He said this last year. Americans should know this. And as a result of this attack on Iran by the U.S. and Israel, you know that there are probably some malefactors, some real bad actors who are going to lash out. Kurt Schlichter, one of his tweets I shared with you earlier in the program, advised, as he usually does, get guns and ammo. You may be required to save some lives because there will be like onesie and twosie attacks, like has happened in Austin, notwithstanding the fact that many people would like to just sweep that one under the rug and it was just some crazy guy. He just happened to be wearing an Iranian flag when he did it. Oh, okay. So how bad is that? Do we have sleeper cells here? Do we have bad actors here? Well, heck yeah, we do. Listen to
progress under President Trump's leadership.
Okay. Joe Kent, Green Beret, CIA operator in their para operators. His wife died. He's a Gold Star husband. His wife died in Syria when we were told that we had no troops there. She was with a special operations group. He knows whereof he speaks. He works for the Counterterrorism Center. This is what he does. He runs it. And this is his assessment of the problems that we're facing right now as a result of open borders.
We have the jihadis of ISIS and Al-Qaeda on the run in Iraq and Syria, thanks to the decisive action and the strikes that we've taken there recently since President Trump took office in January. However, we have a persistent threat from the individuals that were allowed into this country by the previous administration. The number one threat that we have right now, in my view, is the fact that we don't know who came into our country in the last 4 years of Biden's open borders. What we have identified is alarming, and I want to share that with you today. We just recently put out a warning of the heightened risk of terrorist attacks posed to the homeland by terrorists pretty much of all stripes, but in particular from ISIS and from Al-Qaeda. NCTC has been crunching the numbers and going through the sheer volume of known and suspected terrorists that are in the country that came in under the Biden administration. On the run in Iraq and Syria.
Wait. Show of hands. Just put it in the stream comments if you can. How many of you seen this? How many of you ever have seen or heard about this threat that he's talking about?
Come into our country. These are individuals who under normal circumstances would never be allowed to enter our country because of their ties to jihadi groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Yet the Biden administration not only let them into the country, and in many cases facilitated their entry into the country, just like the entry of the Afghan terrorists who committed the terrorist attack here just before Thanksgiving, killing one of our National Guard members and wounding another. That Afghan was brought into the country as a group of over 100,000 Afghans who were brought here during the disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. These individuals, despite what has been reported, were not vetted properly to come into the United States. The individual terrorist who committed the attack in D.C., he was vetted to serve as a soldier in Afghanistan. The Biden administration essentially used his tactical level vetting as a ruse to bring him here and to bring him into our communities. And we've seen the tragic results of that. Now, that Afghan, that attacker, that terrorist is just one of 88,000. We've identified 2,000 of that group of 88,000 who have ties to terrorist organizations. We're working right now hand in hand with DHS and with the
Here's this comment. They've been here way before Biden. Well, some of them have. He's talking about the terrorists that he let in with his open borders. Keep up, honey. Keep up.
FBI to run down this 2,000, the Afghans who came here under Allies Welcome, who have ties to terrorist organizations, and additionally, the other 16,000 individuals with ties to terrorist organizations that Biden let into our country. That is probably the top terrorist threat that we face right now. And that doesn't include the individuals who came here illegally through the open border. That number, alarmingly, remains unknown at this time. We're trying to figure out who those individuals are as well.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. So they have this problem. The problem is you got to, even if you're a lefty who thinks that the United States is the worst country in the world, you're still going to have to be aware, stay frosty, keep your head on a swivel, as they say. And the reason that is because you got to make sure that you're responsible. You are thinking people. I may not agree with you, but you're here and you're learning, and good for you. A lot of people say, oh, well, this is just a propaganda channel. It's not propaganda. It's the truth. And if I have an opinion, I'll tell you it's an opinion. In fact, a lot of this is born of my particular side of the aisle. I used to be a lefty too. I'm not a leftist. I'll tell you something. And I'm the adult in the room, not the kid in the room. I'm going to tell you when I turned, when I didn't believe him anymore. And I thought it was theater. And I thought we were just being used as pawns. It was in 1991, well before many of you were born, when the Joe Biden and Howard Metzenbaum and Ted Kennedy decided to put on a dog and pony show against Clarence Thomas, a black man being considered for the U.S. Supreme Court. And I said to myself as a lefty or a liberal, I go, wait a minute, hold on. I thought that the Democrats, I'm a Democrat. I mean, I thought that these people were here for the black people. Isn't that what the whole thing was? The civil rights movement, blah, blah, blah. Go read up on the civil rights run. The Democrats weren't really all there for the civil rights deal. And yeah, I remember that too. I remember that. Yep, I remember that. So there's another adult in the room. So I went, that was a sea change for a lot of people. That was a time when people said, oh, wait a second. They don't actually mean this. Oh, I'm so dumb. And I was a reporter. I watched this stuff. Oh, okay. How did I not know that? I'm such a dummy. I've seen a lot of things over and over and over. I've seen the stagecraft, and I've seen the stuff they do, and I've seen the run up to war, and I've been lied to, and I fell for a lot of stuff, the WMD in Iraq, and I've been told, in fact, I asked Sam Faddis to come on, and Sam Faddis was the guy in Iraq trying with a patchwork posse of CIA guys and some military dudes looking for the WMD. And they were the guys sent to find it. And they never found it. And before they could find it and get rid of, I didn't mean to put that. Clarence Thomas he's a good guy. He is not. Clarence Thomas is not bought and paid for. You get your heads out of the clouds. He's got a rich friend. Okay, he's got a rich friend, and so I'm sorry that when you're around those circles, you meet a lot of different people, a lot of rich people. So it goes on. It just goes on. I've totally lost the thread. But what I would like to say is, you do fall for some stuff. Somebody's MAGA morons swallow whatever their pathological lying orange Jesus tells them to swallow. And you know what? It's really sad when you are using your valuable time and you're on this stream. And I applaud you for doing this. You are learning this. I bet you there have been multiple things. The first Avenger, didn't know before tuning into this stream. So I know that the cogs are turning. So just receive what you're going to receive. And eventually, you and I, we're going to agree. And you know what's going to really blow your mind? I'm going to say it, okay? And I disliked Reagan for a few years. And then I went, oh, okay, I get it. So I see what he was doing there. Donald Trump is going to be the finest president in your lifetime. I'm just telling you. You'll find out. You'll figure it out. And believe me, I've seen a lot of stuff. He says what's on his mind. He's rich. People don't like that. Okay, fine. You don't like him because he's rich. Whatever. Get over it. Dude could do anything he wanted to do, and he's doing this. You know, I'll tell you what people say. Well, he's a fascist and he's a dictator. Okay, these are the same people say stupid things like that, which are uneducated and dumb. And they're the same people out there celebrating the memory of the Ayatollah. You know, you have got to pick a side. You got to pick one. And maybe you picked the wrong side. Maybe you just you've been totally blackpilled. There's no chance you're ever going to recover your love of country if you ever had it at all. Okay? But there is a possibility. I was a very intransigent, Democrat. I was in the news media. Darn right. Where do you think a lot of these people, you certainly convey those ideas. You believe it. You believe anything a Democrat tells you, and then you don't believe anything a Republican tells you. I mean, that's just sick. But so you gotta get your mind tilt going. You got to get going. You got to decide, what side are you on? Are you on the side of your country? Some people aren't. They don't like it. I don't like everything about this action. But I know one thing. I know that the Iranian regime is the worst thing to happen to Iran maybe ever. Maybe ever. You know, there are people who woke up Saturday morning and they felt something for this country. They said, you know what? My mom and dad told me about that. My mom and dad told me when they took over Iran with big riotous mobs, and they took people hostage. I remember. And they believe it. Not everything, maybe, but they believe it. And then there are others who they're too lazy really to look. I mean, I understand you're busy. You got to make a living, and I get it. You're going to school, whatever. But you are here. Look at you. You are right here, right now, this moment. Look at you. You're learning something you didn't know yesterday. People woke up over the weekend and they got this missive from their boss, if you will. It's kind of interesting. I'm going to find it. Here it is. Yeah. And they took a note. Sense of purpose. And they said, well, whoa, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm capable of matching up here. And here's what it is. Somebody put this on X today, and I thought, is this real? Isn't it your first question now? I don't know. It looks a little too pat. And it does. But this is real because I looked it up. And this dude is Lieutenant General Michael Borgschultz. Might be Borgschultzy. Hey, look at that. 1991 is when he graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy. USMC Look at that. Free. I think he's the first. Is he the first Marine to be in charge of the Naval Academy? I believe he is. So that makes a lot of sense. And he sent this letter to all the midshipmen at the U.S. Naval Academy. And I'm going to read it. Okay? Because some people go, oh no, bury their heads. And some people stand up straighter. And this is what he was telling his midshipmen and women. Brigade of Midshipmen. As you have seen in the news, our joint force has begun military operations against Iran. For decades, Iran has waged a proxy war against American forces and our partners across the Middle East. The events now unfolding are historic. They are consequential, and they demand serious reflection from all of us, even you. I'm talking to my lefty friends out there. For some of your company mates who have only recently graduated, this is no longer theoretical. It is not a case study. It is not a classroom discussion. It is real. They are likely participating in these operations today, standing watch, flying sorties, leading sailors and Marines, executing missions on behalf of our great country. They are carrying the weight of decisions that matter. Soon enough, that responsibility will be yours. And this moment should sharpen your perspective. Fate of nations, stability of regions, the lives of your fellow Americans are not abstract ideas. The fate of the Iranian people, like so many populations caught under regimes that choose hostility over peace, will ultimately be shaped in part by how professionally and decisively American forces conduct themselves. You've heard me talk about war fighting and our focus on it. What you are seeing in the news is an example of why we must be ready. War fighting is not a slogan. It is the core purpose of our Navy and Marine Corps. It requires intellectual rigor in the classroom, physical toughness on the field, and professional seriousness in every training evolution. It requires leaders who understand history, right? Human behavior, and the moral weight of command. It requires officers who can think clearly under pressure and act decisively in uncertainty. This is not a time for distraction. It is not a time for complacency. It is a time to double down. Double down academically. Master your disciplines. Whether you study engineering, cyber, political science, or literature, your ability to think critically will shape your effectiveness in combat. It goes for everybody out there. Double down athletically. Physical resilience underpins combat effectiveness. The demands placed on junior officers and operational units are unrelenting. Double down professionally. Treat every formation, every brief, every watch, and every leadership opportunity as preparation for the day when the stakes are real. Our mission remains clear: to develop midshipmen morally, mentally, and physically, and to imbue you with the highest ideals of duty, honor, and loyalty. Those ideals are not ornamental. They are operational necessities. History does not ask whether we feel ready. It simply arrives. We are not simply another college. Our responsibility is far greater. We will continue to prepare you accordingly. With respect, your soup, Lieutenant General Michael J. Borgschultz. Might be Borgschultzy. Now, you know what we need? We need more people to do that. We need more people to wake up in the morning and say what they're going to do for their country, not what they're going to take away from it. Wasn't that John F. Kennedy's? Ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. We need to find out what our purpose is. Everybody needs to find out, you know? Is it your job? Are you going to tell people how to commit acts of terror in the United States, or are you going to stand up and change things you don't like in this country? You better make a decision. You got to choose a side. It's time. Well, we were getting lots. Yeah, that makes me proud to be an American too. Pretty good. Excellent. Yeah, that's good. Good stuff. All right, got to go. I'll be back here on Thursday. Now, a lot of you guys know, a lot of lefties especially, and right people too, actually. We're all pissed off about the Epstein crap. And so that's why I do Epstein Thursdays. So, and I just tell you what I think is the truth, because there's not a lot of truth out there with respect to this stuff, but I stack it up against what I know, and we'll be back. We're going to talk about the Bill and Hillary depositions and that likely honeypot operation that entangled Bill Gates. Very, very, very naughty. Raping children must be stopped. Couldn't agree more. Now, I love your perspective. Thank you for speaking. Thank you. I'm what is known as a conservative. I've been a conservative for, you know what I started being a conservative besides after the 1991 thing with Clarence Thomas? It especially happened when I had to analyze issues in order to present them on the radio. And I went, eventually I became conservative. Oh, man. Oh, man. Have a great rest of your week. I'll see you on Thursday back here for the live stream. Watch for the highlights. Please set off notifications so that you know when I'm on. And I appreciate you being here today. And yeah, I got an update on the Portland story that got me throttled. Got that coming up on Thursday as well. So it's going to be a big, big show. All right. Hang in there. Thanks again. And yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you very much. Means a lot. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. We do not take you for granted. We appreciate every single person who tunes in every week to listen and watch this program. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, live streaming on Rumble, and then on every other podcast platform shortly thereafter when we can port it over and get it over there as soon as we can. All the shows can be found at victoriataft.com, where the censorship regime has been banned by me. Follow me on social media at these names: Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room podcast, and the Victoria Taft Show. Send media inquiries, or any others for that matter, to victoria@victoriataft.com. And here's a big ask. Would you please subscribe, share, like, comment, recommend, and give this program a 5-star rating where you can? We really appreciate it. We do not take that for granted either. Follow my work at, you guessed it, victoriataft.com. PJ Media, I write tons over there. Flamingo Audiobooks, and of course the radio. I don't do this alone. This show is produced and engineered by Overall Media. 1A Cast is responsible for some of the Adult in the Room podcast's imaging. Logo design by Hageman Creative. The Adult in the Room podcast is produced at Flamingo Road Studios. All rights reserved.